All right, we're
Awesome.
live, and I'm here with. Go ahead and say your
Jovanna
name.
Banana.
And I'm TJ, also known as GFan84, and welcome to this short but very nice discussion about the movie Parasite. And this movie, I just recently got to see, and I know Jovanna, you just got to see it not too long ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, what did you think of this movie?
I'm honestly, me personally, I don't throw around the word like masterpiece too much, but I literally think it was a masterpiece. It had a lot of like layers of symbolism. It wasn't
Oh
the
yeah,
one of those movies. Obviously, the main theme is like classism and like the gap between the rich and the poor. But it wasn't like one of those movies that was like complaining about like a system. You know what I mean? It wasn't
no,
capitalism bad, this bad.
mm,
Because if you look at the movie, no character was truly good. No
no,
character was truly bad. Everybody has these
exactly.
fads, you know, and it just kept layering on all these different themes. Crazy.
Yes, this movie was very much one of those. It's a very human story. It's
Mhm.
not. It's not really about who's good, who's bad. Who's benevolent, who's evil, that kind of thing. It's more. It just shows two families trying to survive, but one is one at spectrum, the other's at the other spectrum. You know, but one of the things I remember when I was first watching this, there were a couple people that thought, this was like a horror movie and that kind of thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been watching this. I'm like, it's not a horror movie at all. There's that one scene that's kind of creepy, and that's where the kid they're doing the flashback of the kid eating his birthday cake, and you see the guy's eyes staring at him.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was the only creepy part about the movie, and that's it. It's really, yeah, it's not a horror movie. It's not. It actually has some comedy elements to it.
Yeah, yeah. And
It's
it was
actually pretty
funny.
funny.
Yeah, especially in the beginning. It was pretty funny. But at the end,
Yeah.
it was like gory. So I could understand,
Oh yeah.
it's
Yeah.
rated R for like a reason,
Yeah.
language and that whole last act.
Yeah. Yeah. That minute where you see the former maid go down that really dark and really spooky shelter down there, that's when the movie changed tone. I think
Yes, I
that
agree.
was the beginning of the third act. That was like, this is what, at first I thought, yeah, again I thought it was like going to turn into like a horror movie at that point, but it wasn't. It was more just this story about people trying to survive. People, however they can in this world. But one of the things that kind of hit me that was kind of looked over is this family that the family we're talking about. They're essentially poor. That's who we focus on the most. They're
Mhm.
essentially a poor family. They live in the drudges and stuff like that. The mother was at one point like an Olympic, you know, what do you call them? Shot putter? Is that what it is? I can't. She can.
I don't really know.
It's where they throw that ball like they I can't remember what it is, but yeah, that one was kind of showing the family, and then the son he gets this chance to pretty much act like he's a tutor
Hmm.
to this rich family's daughter. And one of the things I found was kind of weird though, but funny at the same time, is for as much money as these guys were getting paid, they didn't really better their situation. Did you notice that? Like
Yeah, actually,
they were
yeah, that's a
they
good catch.
were they were almost like content with what they had, even though that they were getting paid all this money. The whole family was in on it. Um, oh, hey, Thomas.
What's up?
Quickly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you for coming by. We appreciate you coming by, and we hope you enjoy the stream. But
Yeah,
um, but yeah, that's what kind of puzzled me. Like they were being paid all this money, and did you notice that like they didn't do anything with it?
yeah. Actually, I okay. My memory is like a bit
Mhm.
skewed, but it could. I think like yeah, you're right. They didn't do anything, but I think they were saving it up. I think for the the daughter and the son to go to
Yeah,
school. I don't
yeah.
remember. I think. it wasn't directly said or anything, but I think that's what I
Mhm.
might have taken away. I didn't really think about it like that, honestly. All I
Yeah.
thought about was the fact that they're using like cronyism to like employ
Yes.
the son was using to employ the rest of the family.
Yes,
You
exactly. And what in the I thought that whole scene with the peaches was marvelously done. Like it showed like this whole scheme to get rid of the older maid. It's
know?
like wow.
Yeah, literally. It is. Yeah, and eventually they were just trying to. I think there's also like the morally the good and the bad. Like the moral
Right.
bad is like the fact that it's cronyism and they're dishonest, and the
Yes.
fact that it's kind of good is that they're all getting jobs. They're
Yeah.
kind of building their life this really poor family.
Yeah.
You know?
Again, this is that type of movie that's doesn't have a true villain and doesn't have a true hero. It's just a story about the two families. And let's talk about the rich family, the ones that they're employed by. The mom clearly, lack of a better term, she's not that intelligent.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
She's very easily fooled in that movie. Just to the point of you know where it's like she pretty much takes everything as they say it. It's like
Mhm.
there's no real her investigating who these people are. There's no real. It's like um, yeah, you're just really taking whatever you can at the moment. But well, another thing too is then there's the father. Um, he, it's again, there's no real person that's very good or very bad. It's
Yeah.
it's just it's kind of hard because at one point in the story, you kind of feel like you're rooting for the poorer family. Then at another point in the story, you're kind of rooting for the richer family to find out who they really are. It's like because they do some both families do some very shady things to
Hmm.
throughout the movie. For instance, like when they're under the table and it's both a tense scene and a funny scene. They're under the table and
Yeah.
the parents are talking to each other
Yep.
and
I
and
know.
he's talking about like how the other guy smells like
Yeah.
bad, and he keeps like smelling his shirt like, do I smell bad or
Yeah.
what? And you can tell he's kind of getting insulted by that, but
Yeah.
at the same time it's like, well, you do live in the slummier part of where you live,
Hmm.
so that would make sense. And did you notice there was kind of symbolism there too, in the family's home, the poorer family? You notice their toilet seat is above the ground.
Yeah.
It's almost like the symbolism as they're at the bottom. They're even lower than the toilet seat at this point. You know,
Oh
as
my
far as
gosh, dude, that's such a good catch. I never caught
yeah,
that. Wow.
yeah. It's like almost a social status kind of thing. It's like your toilet's even higher up than you are. But there's also some dialogue saying that they have done this before when they're drunk at the people's house.
Yeah.
Um, they were talking about how the daughter used to crash weddings,
Oh,
acting like different people.
hmm.
I, I don't know if you caught that one. So it's like they've done this kind of thing before.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing, I don't want to like get off topic here,
Yeah.
but like if we're gonna stay on the topic of symbolism, I think the both of the poor families, because just keep in mind the maid is poor as well as the
Yes.
actual
Hmm.
family. So
Yes.
it's funny how like they just kept getting lower and lower into that shelter, and it shows how the
Yes.
poor are so below everybody, literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Exactly.
They have to fight for scraps, like you saw how they were fighting down there.
Yeah.
They're both in the same, in like the nearly the
Yeah.
same situation, and then
Exactly.
see these people fighting like scraps. You know what I mean? It's sad, but it's like reality.
Yeah. Exactly. And the reality is, too, like, if you really look at it, um, the even the rich family had their own problems. The
Mm-hmm.
son had seen a ghost, had a seizure because of it, and so now he's just drawing all these pictures. He does, dressed up like cowboys and Indians,
Yeah.
essentially too, which was kind of both funny and just at the same time, it's like, okay, that's odd seeing it in a different country, but okay, we'll go with it. But it's and then the daughter, she's trying to get good grades and stuff like that. And that's another thing. Did you notice that how the son ends up with the daughter that he's tutoring,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of, and it's like,
That was kind of funny though. That was funny.
yeah, and it's like, it's like how deep do you want to go down this rabbit hole? That's almost what it's kind of implying. Like, how deep do you want to go on this, as far as realizing where what's going to happen if you know essentially someone finds out, for one thing, and then two, it looked like during the party she wanted them to come out together to show that they were in love, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But another thing too that's kind of interesting. Briefly talk about well, let's talk about the whole point where you know they're down in the shelter. It was like a old bomb shelter.
Yeah.
They explained that it was made during in case North Korea ever attacked, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and you saw how like the
Mm.
wealthy and the privileged got the bunkers,
Yes, exactly. But at the same time, you're still underground. Like, you
Yeah.
become lower in status because, again, like you were saying, like the higher the floors go, the more nicer the floors looked. You ever notice that?
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
like going up to the kids' bedrooms and all, yeah.
Yeah, it's like everything looked even better. And so, but like when they're down in the shelter, they see that her husband had been staying down there, and they're trying to get away from debt collectors. Supposedly, they, pretty much they got into debt with the mob. That's why he's staying down there. And what's kind of funny is just how kind of funny it played out, because at first they had leverage over the old maid. They could have used that, but instead, they all fall, and like then he's like, at her dad and all that. And then she's taking cameras, the pictures with the camera and all that, and it's like it's both funny and like also like terrifying, because their secret at any moment could be like right there, gone.
Yeah, yeah, how it all slip away from your fingertips. Like
Yeah,
that.
and then another really good scene is when their house gets flooded.
Yes.
Do you notice, like, literally, like, there's nothing they can do. Even the daughter kind of resents herself. There's nothing you can do. So she's literally sitting on the toilet having a smoke, because that's literally the only thing she wants to save was her pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, and it's like the low. It shows the lowest, of the low, and then they have to show up to work the next day. Like,
oh yeah,
who you're working for? That's a real life issue. Like
society
and like all these like privileged people, I guess, if you want to say, they expect you to always be at work. They wouldn't, especially because the poor family's being dishonest. They can't be honest and say, "Hey, our house was flooded." Because
they can't even say that. Yeah.
So it kind of shows like how like strict like the working class and the working society is. How you have this like standard, no matter really what happens, to show up to your job, no matter like the garbage.
Exactly. And you know what? It's kind of funny because I don't know if you know this about me. I am from South Korea, but I was adopted when I was 10 months old.
Oh, okay.
And again, it's kind of funny because a lot of people ask my opinion, but I don't really know that much about Korea, to be honest, because I've been raised here in the United States.
Yeah.
But from what I can gather and what I've read about this movie, as far as the difference between the poor and the rich, it's like monumentally worse than in the United States, as far as how much further the rich are compared to how much further the down the bottom people who are poor are.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with I'll put it to you this way: many families stay in power over in Korea. Like for instance, like Samsung, the family that has Samsung. There's been a lot of shady deals that they have said about that family all kinds of stuff that keep them in power, that kind of thing. But one of the interesting things though is that and I think this is what it was the movie was trying to go for, was even though there's these people at the bottom, they're doing really nothing to try to better themselves. Like, as I said, they're going through all this stuff and con artist stuff and all that, but they're not really using that money in any real effective way that we can see.
Yes.
Now, here's another thing too, and I'm going to go into the end with as minor spoilers as possible, but the director had said that the thing about the ending is it's kind of an illusion, because he actually said that calculating it, if that person tried to buy that house, it would conceivably take him almost 500 years to make that much money.
I was, believe it or not, I was still trying to figure out that ending. That was like,
that was the symbolism with the ending. It's like it's an illusion. There's no way it can happen.
Oh, so
it's kind of like something. He was trying to kind of explain, what happens when people have false hope rather than realistic hope.
Oh, yes. Okay, I get it. Yeah, because when his dad was writing the son from the bunker on the ground. Yeah, I totally get it. And then the son started getting false hope that he was eventually going to buy that house to free his dad.
Yes.
Oh, now it's all coming together. Now the pieces fit.
Yes. That was the symbolism he was going for, was the false hope that he would even be able to do that.
Yeah.
Wow. It's almost like the argument is they're stuck where they are. They ruined any chance they had to, do what they could have done. And then the party scene itself, dude, I thought he killed the son. I really did
too. Yeah, at first.
And then when they, he had that brain injury, and then he kept just laughing at everything.
Yeah,
being a brain injury. Yeah. But it's just like, and then with the daughter, it's like, it's kind of, another symbolism he was using. The man who was down in the basement, the how he had the bloody face, that was actually kind of representative of the fact that how Native Americans paint their faces with war paint.
Really?
Because remember, what was the party theme? They were going to try to save her.
Yes.
From the bad
Native American.
Well, what happens? She ends up getting stabbed. It's like,
oh my God, wow, dude, you caught so much. I didn't even catch that. Wow.
Also, if you actually also look back at the beginning of the movie, where when the daughter first arrives at the rich people's house, and the mom's like, yeah, no, none of his tutors last a month. Well, guess what happens with them? Her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's almost like it kind of foreshadows what would happen.
Yeah. Another thing that I kind of like pointed out, or like noticed a little bit, I don't know if it's really the right or an accurate representation, I guess, if that's the word you want to use, but when the son, the youngest son of the rich family, started smelling, there was that one time where the wife and the husband of the poor family walked in, and he smelt it, and then he noticed that they all smelled the same. And then I think he said, Julia smells like that too.
Yeah.
I actually thought the rich people were going to find out, but they didn't. Like, that's what I feel like. That's what I feel like was the good use of subversion. Like, I genuinely felt like it was going somewhere, and it was going to take one of those cliche subversive turns, but it didn't, making it like even more subversive, because it just kind of put onto the theme that the rich family was so gullible.
Exactly. And that's the other thing, like the mother even brought up, she goes, the mother of the rich family is a very nice person, And she goes,
Mhm.
"Well, I'd be nice if I was rich too."
Yeah,
It's like,
I vividly remember that.
yeah, it's almost like kind of saying they're nice because they are rich, but
Yeah,
not
yes,
because of out of any type of they can relate to people, but more because they don't have to worry about stuff.
hmm
And another thing too is I looked this up and it was kind of interesting. What you when they're coming back from because the kid's birthday party got rained out, so they're coming back and she has to hurry up and make them um, udon or whatever the word was. Well, here, and I looked this up. Here, what she made them was just regular ramen, but the beef she used was one of the most expensive beef. It's like
yeah, yeah,
$20 an ounce. So it's like almost like they're making like essentially a poor man's food, just adding the really expensive meat to it.
yeah.
So it kind of shows like that's how like they ask this stuff of these people like as if it's no big deal, like that they
Yeah,
don't have lives themselves. You notice that too? Like they have them drop everything to take them somewhere or whatever, and they just feel it's no big deal.
yeah, because they have like I think it kind of shows like the theme of like when you're so wealthy and privileged, you take those things for granted, and,
Exactly. Yeah.
and so that they were humble
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
sense, and how the rich have like the act could have you have the money because that's a
Yeah.
real issue as well. Like just the with going along with the wealth gap is the quality of food that people get. Like I watch documentaries where like poor families had to just rely off fast food, because it's
Yeah.
cheap and because it's like really quick to eat and
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I could tell you that right now. It's like, you know, when my wife and I go to the grocery store, it's like it's whatever's on sale and what we can get. It's probably not the healthiest either.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yet that if that's what you can afford, that's what you have to get. And I just got used to it. It's like, not a big deal.
And even me, like I kind of I'm not gonna lie, like I come from a like pretty privileged family, we're upper middle class, and I am very like grateful for that. My dad like really
Mhm.
worked really hard to open up his
Mhm.
own podiatry practice and all. And
Right.
we try to be like frugal still. We're not gonna
Yes.
spend like we're not gonna hoard food at our house. We're not
Right.
gonna spend like but like my dad literally like the he only goes to Trader Joe's, which is like considered pretty expensive, like once in a blue moon, to like just treat
Uh,
yourself. But it shows in the movie that those rich people are gullible, and ungrateful,
yes. Exactly.
and realize like like especially like the fruit that they're given by the maid.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
even you can tell it's like of high quality and how the maid prepares it for them and having those people
Right.
for you, which I kind of think goes back again to the poor people
Yeah.
serving the rich essentially in this scenario and how
Yes.
they like the rich people benefit from the labor
Right.
of the poor, if that
Yes.
makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. It does make sense, but there's another type of symbolism that goes on the opposite side. You notice when the rich people were away and they had the whole house to themselves, what did they do? They trashed it.
Yeah, yeah,
They made it look just as bad as their actual house. And it's the argument. It's like even if you gave, they don't know what to do with that house. Like they literally just act like it's not a big thing. They have no interest in taking care of it, that kind of thing. So it's
yeah,
almost like on the opposite foot. It's like, yeah, but they're not even taking care of this place. They're not even worried about cleaning stuff up. They're like breaking stuff, for crying out loud.
yeah. And it also showed their like gullible side as well, because it goes back
Yeah.
to that. It all goes back to one thing. It goes back to how there's no one truly good or bad in the movie. You're
Mm-hmm.
still finding to see whose side you're on. And the thing is, it shows we can't pick sides when it comes to all these things. And I think that's goes with like a greater world issue that everything is not
Exactly.
one-sided. You have to look into these things.
Yeah, exactly. And getting back to, some people were wondering why um, the dad of the poor family ended up killing the dad from the rich family.
Mhm.
If you really look, he was more incensed that no one was helping his daughter. Like everyone was thinking about themselves. And, even he's like, just give me the keys. We got to get out of here. And it's like, wait, what about even though they don't know it's his daughter, they're kind of like, every person for themselves kind of thing.
Yeah, that's how all the rich families were. Because at that party,
Yeah.
A lot of privileged families, you could tell.
Yeah.
But it showed, how they aren't like, they're selfish, and how people are inherently selfish like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, because the argument the director even said is, even if it went the opposite way, do you think say like if one of the rich people got attacked, would the family that's poor even step in? He said probably not. It would be the same scenario on the opposite foot. They'd be more worried about each other than the person that's being attacked.
Yeah, and I just to kind of piggyback off that, I think if it was like, a lot of when the rich family was leaving, the rich dad was saying, get to the car. I feel like a lot of people were like, more people were like aiding him in that situation. Like if it was the rich family, all those rich and privileged people would have came and helped him first. Exactly. I'm trying to like think my thoughts out because I know what I want to say. I just can't say it right. It's just like how. Wait, I'm gonna need a second to like kind of think this out. How people really, stick to their groups, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yes.
How the rich, click more with rich people. Even just like from the party before all that stuff went down. It's just how the rich click more with the rich and the poor. Just fight each other like scraps, as we saw with the maid and her husband who lived down.
Exactly.
Poor family in the movie.
Yeah, and it's almost like, again, the more theme of the movie is like everyone's kind of out for themselves. Not because they're truly evil, not because they're truly good. It's just a matter of, here's two families on the opposite side of the spectrum, having to survive. That's literally it. And I have to admit, like the sex scene that they had on the couch was borderline hilarious. I was like busting out laughing because they're all there just like hiding, and this whole thing's going on, and it's like, and this is just hilarious,
Yeah. I think that also showed, like, again, literally, like, literally how the poor people are like below them. They're under a table while these people are enjoying their lives above them.
Exactly. Yeah.
But honestly, if I had like one complaint, and I know this wasn't the point of the movie, and it doesn't even bother me that much, but it's the fact that they kind of showed how the rich were kind of, just rich. It didn't show like what he did to accumulate that wealth. So it would lead viewers to assume that it was inherited, and that's not true for a majority of like in American society, at least. Like I know like 70-something% of millionaires are honest. They are like not inherited. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
Work from like almost nothing. And I think they didn't show that. But then again, you have to look at that symbolism of like, the poor are always going to be, benefiting the rich through their labor and, employ people. I think that's another thing that it did show is how, you look at all these billionaires and all these people like, Amazon, Jeff Bezos and Tesla, Musk, they're employing all these people, but they are benefiting off the labor of people, who may not have as much financial opportunity or education as they did.
Right. And yet that is quite literally the ground base of any type of capitalist society.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have that, it would collapse, at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of like one of those, okay, so if I did like a social experiment, if I all of a sudden and I remember there was this, the guy who made Super Size Me. You ever watch that documentary?
Yeah, I watched that in health class.
Yeah, Morgan Spurlock, that's his name.
Yeah.
He did this one show, and it's like 30 days of they have to do something. So him and his wife ended up working on a minimum wage budget. And it was such a like eye opener because there were like things just even get missing work to just go to the doctors
Yeah.
was such a like almost trauma because they're
Yep.
like, wait, I need to pay for this, I need to do this, and it kind of shows the actual um like you don't think about these things until you're actually in that situation. You know what I'm saying? And like for instance, my mom always said that she always dares she likes watching the Food Network and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But she often dares them to actually do something where the show shows people, okay, you only have $20, you have to make 3 meals from that,
Oh,
something like that,
the
because
reality.
it's like
Yeah.
she's had to do that. I've had to do that. Actually, I've made like six. you know, just from just having $20. That's all you have. That's the only budget you have. You have to make six different meals from it.
Yeah, and I think that also kind of shows like uh
Yeah.
kind of help boost like people's financial intelligence. Like, hey,
Yes.
this is,
Exactly. What can you?
social media culture has brought in people like flaunting all their things online, but it doesn't
Yeah.
show like the people that are like millionaires and even
Yeah.
like people that are below millionaire and all that
Right.
millionaire and all that stuff, that there is a frugal lifestyle. And it's, believe it or not, most of the time it's a better lifestyle because look, you're saving money that you could invest in like
Yeah.
certain assets to like grow your income. And
Yeah.
that's the one difference, between like just the rich and the poor, and at least in
Yeah.
America, from what I can infer, is
Yes.
that the rich know how to grow their wealth. People just
Right.
they get all this money out of nowhere. No. But
Yeah.
yeah, obviously the one problem is that they're benefiting labor off of poor people, but they can't,
Hmm.
because it's a corporate world and they have a lot of employees, so they can't, individually help everyone. So I
Yeah.
get
Exactly.
that human aspect is kind of lost.
Yes. And it's kind of interesting, like when it comes to this movie. Again, it's not really forcing. It's not like how we've been having this battle between having too many forced political messages in
Yeah,
movies. This doesn't do it that way. This instead just shows that this is the way things are. Like, this is how society is in
yeah, it
general.
didn't push an agenda. It's
No,
really
it just he
that
just
word.
told a story. It's literally a story of two families.
Story, exactly.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm, even though I am from Korea, I have really uh no no real connection to uh Korean culture or society in general. But from watching this movie, you can kind of get an idea, you know, some aspects where it kind of makes it kind of like show what people are willing to do to try to get a better life somehow.
Hmm.
But yet when they have that opportunity, they seem to squander it. You know,
Yes, yes.
and it's almost like saying, it's like, it's kind of like the saying, oh, my New Year's resolution, I'll go to the gym more. Well, 9 times out of 10, that actually doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's that's weight loss has always been the big one for the last couple of years, and yet statistically speaking, only about 2% actually follow through with it.
I think I've actually heard that before.
Yeah,
Like that's actually like fact.
yeah, and but it actually shows, like, too, that's also being in a healthy lifestyle is actually a completely different lifestyle than what you're living. So it's hard to just change that. Also, too, when you factor in, well, going to gym, you have to find time to do that. If you're working 12 hours a day, what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I've worked 12-hour day jobs, and trying to plan to do anything is just ridiculously hard. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy
you
to.
can't. Yeah. Um, and then I know people that work in the hospitals and stuff like that, and some nurses work 12, 14 hours a day. So it's like, what can you do?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But so, like, now, overall, when you were watching the film, did you connect with any certain characters while you were watching it?
Actually, yeah, but also I just want a quick note. I'm probably gonna have to go in like a couple minutes because
That's
I have
fine.
an appointment. So, but yeah, I'll answer your question and then I'm gonna have to probably
Okay.
bounce.
All right,
But
that's fine.
I personally I didn't really like connect with anyone. I just understood where everyone was coming from because it
Right.
didn't paint anybody as a savior. It didn't paint anybody as like this like horrible person. But I
Exactly.
think that, I could feel the father of the poor family. He's kind of
Yeah.
had, he wasn't really like the man of the house.
No.
He did like I feel like as like the driver, he kind of
Yes.
like actually no, I want to take that back for a second. I do kind of feel for the father because of the way he was like mocked by the other rich father, and that
Yeah.
also just shows like a societal stereotype thing.
Yes.
But I think I really, appreciate the son of the poor family the most. I think
Yes.
Kevin, called him in
Yes.
America,
Kevin. Yeah.
how he was able to. He had a friend who knew that rich family. He was able to use that connection that he
Yeah.
got in order to, do some good for his family. He wants to employ
Exactly.
his family in a time where it's really hard for them to get employed. They
Yeah.
don't really have a lot of money. What were they doing? They were literally folding boxes, right, at the beginning
Yeah.
of a company.
Uh-huh.
And that
Yep.
company wouldn't give them actual jobs. So this kid literally went out and then he said, hey, my sister's good at this. Let's have her forge a document. And then
Mm-hmm.
it kind of showed that the poor people outsmarted the rich because of
Exactly. Yeah.
the son and how his actions
Mm-hmm.
springboarded into all the family getting jobs, which is a good
Exactly.
thing. But then also, as we saw in the movie, it's just a roller coaster of like all these good and bad things.
Exactly. Exactly. But anyway, yeah. Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, of
I
course.
really appreciate it. And I hope to catch more of your. I'll have to get your video here after we're done right here, and then I'll see about leaving the comment. But
All right.
yeah,
Well,
thanks guys for who came to listen to us discuss this movie. If you can give Jovanna Banana a subscribe to her. She's a great person. So I hope everything goes well for you today.
thanks. You too.
All right, take care.
See ya.